of the biggest and most anticipated Indian movies in 2023 has finally arrived after probably the most tumultuous journey ever since its teaser dropped. Whenever a movie focuses on the revered part of our history or attempts to adapt some of our most sacred epics, there is bound to be expectations, and with expectations comes an inevitable case of people either being satisfied or completely distraught at the abomination that they are witnessing. We went from thinking that this movie is bound to be a train wreck from the teaser to believing that there are actual changes taking place with its special effects with the trailer to finally concluding that the makers may have just masked its several issues by making most of the frames extremely dim with its final action trailer. This oscillating and unpredictable experience, the heavy marketing, the huge advance booking the movie has received, all of it became this concoction of several opinions that piqued everyone's interest. Or what exactly are the makers cooking with this project? Adipurush, directed by Om Raut, is based on the epic Ramayan by Valmiki. Upon Kekai's wish that her son Bharat becomes king, she requests her husband Dashrath to send Raghav on exile for 14 years. Raghav, played by Prabhas, humbly accepts this, and his brother Shesh, played by Sunny Singh, and wife Janki, played by Kriti Sanon, accompany him on this journey. The core focus of the film is how Raghav, with the aid of the Vanar Sena, rescues Janki from the shackles of Lankesh, played by Saif Ali Khan, a Shiv Bhakt and demon king who abducted Janki dressed as an ascetic and keeps her bound and hopeless in Lanka. Here's me telling you the good and bad aspects of the film so that you guys can ultimately decide whether to watch Adipurush in theatres or not. The good. The music and background score. The saving grace of the film and its best quality is undoubtedly the music composed by Ajay Atul and the score formulated by Sanchit and Ankit Balhara. Even though I communicated as the marketing snippets were being put out there that it was partially disappointing that an anticipated film like this also has a music album which has a remix song like the classic Ram Siya Ram, but I have to say when you see the film on the big screen and the single Jai Shri Ram plays in the background as Lord Ram leads the Vanar Sena as they cross over the Setu, it really does invigorate and pump you up for the ultimate battle ahead. There is also something extremely melodious about Tu Hai Sheetal Dhara sung by Sonu Nigam and Shreya Ghoshal that is representative of the longing Janki has for Raghav and this boundless love that they have for one another, eventually having a beautiful culmination. The best, however, in my eyes is the score that assists Ravan that really does heighten the otherwise underwhelming visuals. The score is indicative of his evil intentions and does so much for the film. The same holds true for the music assisting Hanuman as he flies for the first time to Lanka and goes to retrieve the Sanjeevani booty as well. I wonder how disastrous it would have been had the music not been as impressive because your perception of the film's visuals on a laptop, a desktop, a mobile phone or the big screen is going to be exactly the same. Quite contrary to what some of the trade analysts or samosas want to convince you to believe. Mixed performances. The ensemble cast and the expectations their fan bases have are in for a rather mediocre experience in the cinema hall because neither is someone a standout in terms of being a show stealer, nor are they so obviously out of their depth that I'm going to point them out and say that they stuck out like a sore thumb. The one I can say really put his best foot forward is Saif Ali Khan as Lankesh. The styling, something which I will come to later, does not help. But he really puts his heart and soul into attempting at least to become the demon king who should be feared, especially in his introduction as he pays tribute to Lord Shiva. It's sad, however, because he is dressed like a Game of Thrones extra with a TikTok hairstyle. So when he thumps his feet in a tandav or gets into an argument with his 10 heads, it borders on being comical. Prabhas has a sincere and calm demeanor in the initial minutes of the film, which is indicative of what Lord Ram represents, but it still tilts towards getting aggressive and angry as the journey commences, which I felt was a shift that did not really fit in the essence of what the character represents. It was also awkward when the wide shots clearly show a body double running and only a close-up of Prabhas flailing his arms showcases him ever physically moving. Sunny Singh as Shesh is sincere and Kriti Sanon in her limited appearance does a fair job. Vatsal Seth as Indrajit and Devdutt Nage as Hanuman may have done as the director and writer wanted, but they are handed over some of the worst dialogues in the film that actually ruins what Valmiki's text extracted, making some of the scenes representative of cringe dialogue bazi rather than holding on to the sacredness of the text. As the original source material has to cover so many characters, the ensemble cast comes in and out of the narrative, not giving the wings for me to really boast about an individual per se. The underwhelming aspects. Cringe-worthy dialogue-bazi. I was baffled by some of the dialogues written for this film that reflects a mass commercial action film more than an ancient text being given its utmost respect. As Hanuman meets Janki in Lanka, Ravan's general states, "Tere bua ka bagicha hai kya, jo hawa khane chale aaya?" When Indrajit burns Hanuman's tail, he says, "Jali na, abhi to aur jalegi." Hanuman replies, "Kapde tere baap ka, tail tere baap ka, jalegi bhi tere baap ki." This is Lord Hanuman we are talking about, and why is he handed over these dialogues? Hanuman also says, "Jo hamari behnon ko haath lagayenge, unki lanka laga denge." I know that makers are trying to cater to the audience and the current environment, but this does not translate well at all with such dialogues. Awful CGI and masking flaws in visual effects. When everyone was wondering about the outcome of this film, as it was entirely shot in confined studios and has attempted to capture the entire film with motion capture, leading to several of its elements and characters just being digitally enhanced and created, you knew it was going to be a monumental task to make the experience convincing. The situation when you see the film is no different from what you saw in the marketing snippets of this film. The final product borders on being cartoonish, with having little to no impact on you, as it feels like a poorly rendered video game that you're playing in a demo mode. This is true from the introduction of the film, of Lord Ram fighting Asurs in an awfully crafted action scene, to the final battle where you have to squint your eyes to understand what exactly is happening. The frames are dim with a purpose, so that the Vanar Sena, entirely seeming like an extension of the characters from the Jungle Book exported at 240p, cannot be exposed with all their features. The moment you pick up the saturation and brightness in any frame, you can clearly tell the poor and incomplete job done by the makers, and this is something that an epic like Ramayan does not deserve, especially when there is such a massive investment riding on it. I mean, the dragon or whatever this is, just to indicate the antagonist's demonic presence, is such a poor choice because it looks cartoonish. There's no debate about it. One was of the hope that the visuals will become secondary if the screenplay and performances are engaging enough, but I have to sadly confess, it acts as a huge deterrent to be fully invested in this film. If you thought that in those 6 months something was being done to enhance the visuals, it was just a strategy to stall the release till the noise dissipates. Nothing more and nothing less. The only difference is that the 10 heads are not in one row but in 2 rows in the final edit. Volume of the text and fitting it in a movie. The classic Ramayan created by Ramanand Sagar carried on for 78 episodes, and this is reflective of the volume of the epic and the sheer number of characters that it has to focus on. The journey to Lanka brings several key plot points and characters in front of Raghav, and with the running time of being just under 3 hours, the movie cannot fully do justice to the epic, as it almost has to skim past some of the most riveting and emotionally engaging parts of the storyline. The desperate need of Kekai is a footnote. The case of Sugriv and Bali is laughable. The event and scuffle with Surpanakha is cut too short and abrupt. The characters of Indrajit and Kumkaran are side characters. The delusion that seeps in Ravan's mind and how his brothers try to warn him of the threat that looms does not exist. It all seems to be subplots that are simply brushed upon rather than having that holistic impact that Ramanand Sagar series format had the luxury to formulate. But more importantly, the animated feature in 1992 directed by Yugo Sako with a running time of just 2 hours and 15 minutes had a much larger impact while still focusing on those several subplots. This Om Raut attempted magnum opus just does not compare. A character like Kumkaran is sadly treated like some sidekick villain, absolutely devoid of shedding light on his might and intellect. The less I say about the battle of Sugriv and Bali, the better. The sequence really does look like a demo version of a mobile game or an expansion pack of Temple Run. It's absolutely baffling where the investment went in this film. The issue is not the effort being made by the actors, but the overconfident vision of a director who thought he could get away by doing the bare minimum and paper over the obvious problems by hiding behind a sacred text that is revered by an entire nation, safeguarding one's incompetence behind God, knowing very well that any form of criticism will be labeled as anti-Hindu or anti-India. The introduction excerpt of this film states that if you think this adaptation does not do justice to the original text, then read the original epic by Valmiki. And if the makers themselves are saying this, then what's stopping you? And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about Adipurush. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.